Hello, friends, this is John Clan Third of episode 170 of Shadow and Flame with Magic, the podcast, the premier Kitty Pryde Lockheed and Magic podcast. And today we're going to review X-Manhunt Omega #1, which is part 7 of 7. And it is odd that there was no X-Manhunt Alpha, but do you need an Alpha for an Omega? Probably. And I got the cover with Kitty Pryde on it. And took a risk that she was gonna be when I pre-ordered it, but I was like, she must be in it. And so spoilers for the issue and the rest of the issues of last week. And this was written by Norella Adolel and Gail Simone. Artists are Gleb Melnikov and Federica Massin and Eden Balong. Color artist is Brian Ribber and letter VC's Travis Lantham. Born with incredible superhuman abilities, mutants have long been persecuted for their differences. The mutant heroes known as the X-Men were trained by Professor Charles Xavier to use their powers to protect the world that hates and fears them, and bridge the growing divide between humanity and mutant kind. The X-Men's former mentor, Professor Charles Xavier, was incarcerated in Grey Malkin prison for mutants. When he received a psychic distress call from his daughter Xandra, Empress of the Alien Shi'ar Empire, he broke out of prison. Xavier is also suffering from a mutant brain tumor that's affecting his telepathic powers, but he has refused to accept the truth. Disregarding consequences, determined to save Xandra, he resurrected his diseased mother, Lilandra, together, her diseased mother. Together, Xavier and Lilandra focus a vessel and are preparing to depart for deep space to aid their daughter. The two teams of X-Men and their various mutant allies have remained divided as Xavier carried out his plans, alternately aiding or attempting to apprehend him. Now Xavier is poised for a final confrontation with his former students who must decide if he should be stopped at all costs. And the cast is Charles Xavier, Lilandra, Narumi, the X-Men Alaska, Cyclops, Beast, Kid Omega, Magic, Temper, and Psylocke. X-Men Louisiana's Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Calico, Death Dream, Jitter, and Ransom. X-Factor's Pyro and Angel. X-Force is Sage and John Raff. And then bonus cast is Storm and Emma Frost, with clearly enough space for Kitty Pryde, so that's disappointing they didn't opt for that extra space. But maybe it's extra space for whoever you want to be represented there. So the issue opens at Haven House, New Orleans, United States of America, X weeks ago, which we know means 10 weeks ago. Following the raid on Grey Malkin and Cyclops and Rogue are chatting as Gambit and Magic are witnesses to it to make sure everyone's cool. Then we jump over to New York City with NYX. Then we jump to Los Angeles with X Factor, the Miranda Trench with X Force, Chicago, the Exceptional X-Men. The dream to keep hope alive as we see Kitty Pryde's talking to Bronze. Melee's destroying one of Iceman's sculptures. And Emma's holding a punching bag for Axel to punch. That's nice. And so Scott and Rogue are talking about how Xavier needs to stay in prison and she's objecting to that. Magic says, "Why did Cyclops do Gambit? Do you blame him for the fall of Krakoa? You two, Storm, even Wolverine would have followed Cyclops to the ends of the earth just for a few years ago. You trust them with your lives, but for some reason your trust is far gone that there isn't even room for sentimentality." There's an ad here for Godzilla versus X-Men 1, which I really wish it wasn't set in the 90s, but maybe Excalibur will show up in it. That'd be fun. And so Scott realizes he's just not getting anywhere with them, so Magic opens a portal and they're done with this. And Scott ends there just saying you're on the wrong side of this, and they're just gonna deal with it. San Francisco, United States of America now, and Storm is contemplating her roles in the event, says she's not fully in control of her own roles. We get two fun panels at the beginning of the first Krakoa era and then the fall of the first Krakoan era as Xavier with his classic helmet and then him pointing a gun at young Moira. And so he had a full moment on Krakoa. Earth's orbit, fall of the first Krakoan era, the space frigate Agnew, where we believe these soldiers died, but it turns out it was just a illusion that Xavier created, but never told Scott about it. Sage and Storm were working together to get Xavier and the Laundra in space. Greg Niskara, Iceland. Scott and Magic are in Iceland, whereas Kid Omega is in Mexico City, Mexico, with X Factor. And no Forget Me Not, unless this is him on the very edge of the book page here, but I suspect he's not. He doesn't look yellow to me, so maybe that's not him. And then Scott wonders if Magic has a longer sword for what they're gonna need, as he's gonna perform CR-20 maneuver, whereas when Magic creates a long surfboard of a sword, and then Cyclops blasts it with the move called the Red Surfer, which I like the idea that he called it CR-20, and then Kid Omega was like, you should call it the Red Surfer. And I would say that there's a lot of attempts to make this a fun comic to make the medicine of Xavier going to space palpable. And as we see that Ladondra is performing open brain surgery on Xavier. And Magic's just opening up portals trying to get to the spaceship, which is weird. As you she doesn't need line of sight teleportation, like that's Nightcrawler. She just needs to know, like, hey, I need to get in a spaceship, and then opens a portal and walks through. It's not like she's worried about walking into a wall, like she opens a portal and sees it. And then she slashes the spaceship with a fiery splat slash move. And then in the explosion, she falls down. Then Scott calls the command for a soldier to wake up, and it's a giant creature I don't recognize. Magic calls it the Nasim Ash the Demon Kaiju, which I don't know what that's a reference to. But we see that Sage is mostly here to take out Magic, as she's Scott's biggest gun and quite the variable. And then John Raff is there, so we get a couple pages of a robot versus, a kaiju creature, and Scott performs a Scarlet Scattershot move, and then runs to Ilyana, and you can just tell like he's panicked about it. As since the Bendis era, they've been like best friends, and I love their friendship. It's like one of Magic's top three friendships. Like, Kitty, Scott, and Emma, and maybe now Cal and Danny, which Danny should be way higher than Cal, but like those are her friends pretty much. Like her and Doug never really hung out, or Magma. And so now that Magic's down, the Laundra presses a button and the real spaceship launches. And then Scott launches himself to the spaceship, which I guess is a move out of X-Men 97. Xavier tries to calm him down telepathically with a psychic chat, but Scott's not going to listen because he's done with him. And Atlanta, United States of America, and Storm is shooting a giant bull, and from a giant arrow from an electric bull. Oh, even that has a name, the Snipping Sagittarius. All right, like there's an attempt to be fun. And then we get to the Atlantic Ocean, where the arrow goes past the spaceship Marauder to Iceland that hits Scott right in the chest. Then we have Porto, the Uncanny X-Men coming down, including Coleco and their flaming form, and Rogue catches Cyclops, and then he gives the order to Kid Omega to take down Lilandra's ship, which they use Idolay for, but it doesn't quite work. And then Scott starts blasting dudes, and people say that he's having a panic attack. But I'm like, is that what a panic attack is? Because when I used to have panic attacks, I used to just get very quiet, pay attention to my rapid heartbeat, and try to get my breathing under control, and then wondering if I was having a heart attack. And then, coming with a weird piece of, well, maybe this is it. This is at work. This is gonna happen. And then finally went to some therapy, did some talking cure, and got some um methods of what to do in these scenarios, and sort of came through it. But it was quite the month of regular heart attack, or thinking I was having heart attacks when they were just panic attacks. We got an infamous panel of Logan stabbing Cyclops all the way through, which now reminded that, hey, you could have been following along this whole time on my TikTok and YouTube video channels at Jacko SII. I lost a subscriber on YouTube, so if you can grab a friend's phone and subscribe, I would appreciate that. Maybe tell them about it so that in a week they're like, why am I getting these videos? And then unsubscribe, causing the problem again. But it'd be nice to not be losing subscribers. Though I hit 407 subscribers as of this recording on TikTok, so I feel like the comic stuff's working. Um, and every so often the YouTube channel video will get more views than the TikTok one, so I don't know what's happening. Like, is it the time of day? It'd be nice to look into all that. And then we get 10 hours later, which is weird, it's not X hours later. But Xavier wakes up, he's been completely cured of his tumor. The Laundra and the Shi'ar science has done a great job. Xavier realizes he does not want to leave his X-Men like this, and so they go back to Earth at the Black Beach Island. We get this great double page spread of Cyclops or everyone coming, and they're magic portals, but it's hard not to think of them as Doctor Strange, in-game portals. But yeah, Storm and Kitty come out one. They're holding hands, which would be important later. Magneto shows up. He's been silent this entire event. Forge is there representing X-Force. Emma's there. Gambit's coming down from a portal. Green for him. Oh, I guess it's the Eye of Agonok. Miss Marvel's there, which I'm super excited. I wasn't excited about the giant size X-Men 50th anniversary. It's really just a Miss Marvel going through X-Men history event. But for the 25th anniversary, we got the Black Sun miniseries that is still confusing to me. And that was barely something that involved the all new, all different team. And Angel's there. And so I'm not sure who um healed Cyclops from that deep wound. But we get a panel of Cyclops saying, or Wolverine saying, sorry, I had to poke you there a bit. Had to wake you up, Slim. It wasn't deep, and I get it. Maybe I can pay the favor back someday. Where he's like, it was super deep. Like, I don't, like, it literally went from his stomach through his back with like blood falling off the claws. Like, it was, or maybe it's because he's slim, and so it's not that deep, but I don't know. It went through his body. I feel like that's deep. There's a fun ad here for the Wolverine Kitty Pryde #1 that's getting me back into buying comics. Because I threw DCBS because it's just been bugging me so much. I've been spending twice as much on individual comic shipping on eBay, and so just committing to it. Though I suspect the June one's going to be a little expensive, as I was clearly leading up to the Miss Marvel. We got the Miss Marvel House of M cover, as well as the giant size X-Men issue 2 cover. It has Lockheed on both of them. And the solicitation now reads that Miss Marvel is going to hang out with school teacher Kitty Pryde. So it literally feels like they're making a comic book for me, and then they're making the two covers for me, so I'm gonna get those. And I'm tempted to just get the Age of the Apocalypse one, as I did reach out to one of the writers, and of course he didn't respond. But literally asking, like, hey, is the Age of Apocalypse, is Shadowcat gonna be there? Because apparently she's supposed to be, Miss Marvel's supposed to be at the end of it, and Shadowcat was there at the end, as it was Kid Ilyana, so chances are high one of them will be there. If not, I'll just donate the comic to Walker D and, you know, keep the bag and board, I guess, because I need bags and boards. Because it bugs me now that I have like this almost full box of comics I reviewed on the podcast, and some of them don't have bags, and I'm like, I really need to get bags. Also bugs me. Apparently, I had War Punisher kills the Marvel Universe, and then I don't have it anymore. And I just read it next year. We're supposed to get a Punisher one-shot episode, and now I'm like, oh, for that month, I should have review my issue. And I don't have it, so I'm literally going to buy a copy of it. It's going to bug me because I really don't want the lousy cover that they reprinted back in like 2008 or so. Like it's the all white cover of just Punisher on it. And it sort of bugs me. I don't want the reprinted one of the proper cover either. Like I sort of want the 1995 version. I saw it's like $25, which I'm like, I really don't want to spend $25, but it's gonna bug me if it's not that copy. I don't know. I gotta look into the prices and see if I can just get it for cheap on a payday or something. But these are the thoughts I've been having lately. But I'm super excited about Lockheed being back on covers. Feels like a big win for us Flameheads, as of course the collective of Lockheed fans are called, right? And I know this is controversial, but Xavier's saying goodbye. We have Kitty looking sad. Oh, and this is the debut of the Kitty Pryde exceptional X-Men blue costume. It's just been a cover queen for, I guess, 10 months now. But here she is. She zips it down. We see she wears a white undershirt underneath it. And I'm like, I don't love that look exactly. But she looks very sorrowful. And then we get another panel of people being annoyed. And this is the closest we see Kitty Pryde and Magic standing next to each other, but they're not on the same plane. But clearly, like, she's closer to Emma. But Emma's on a different plane too, so I don't know. But this is like, seriously, she can hold Storm's hand, but she can't stand shorter Magic? Like, that's what we're not doing now? Like, it's a rule, like, the two of them can't just talk? Um, yeah, so we're seeing all the X-Men as Xavier saying his goodbyes to everyone. Rogue's not comfortable with saying anything, so she lets Emma do the talking, which I know is causing some online stir. And when I catalog this at League of Comic Book Geeks, which you can follow me there at Jacko SII, as I try to claim that screen name as many places as I can, as early as possible. But it turns out ranking them, which I don't rank them, but I've now started clicking read as I missed out on the 2024 recap, as they're like, you didn't get enough. I'm like, well, I did it now, but apparently I missed the algorithm of it. So hopefully next year I get to see all the 2025 stats. And but it turns out people have been voting negatively on it, and so now I see that it's not always a green circle, it's a red circle sometimes. Or on a rare occasion, one ideally. So Emma calls him a bastard, an utter and complete bastard, but be happy, you've earned it. She's crying and kissing him on the cheek, which is like, I don't know. If this is goodbye, then I'm fine with it. It would be nice if this comic ended with a celebration party of like, we got rid of him. How great. And then we see some extra mutants. Mystique, who's not deformed like at the end of her miniseries. Beast. Bronze, Iceman. Bronze is sad. I think she's just crying all the time, unfortunately. Psylocke. I think that's Thunderbird in his Krakoa outfit that he's not wearing in Weapon X-Men. Prodigy, who looks sad when he should just be annoyed. Melee, who looks sad. Banshee. Sunfire wearing his Age of Apocalypse outfit. Nightcrawler's there. Then we see the beach. Magic's crying. She's claiming there's sand in her eye, and everyone says needs to shut up. And that's it. Goodbye, Professor, and it's the end. With a big splat, full page ad for follow Professor X and Lilandra and Journey in Imperial by Jonathan Hickman, Iben Khalilo, and Federico Vicinini coming in June, which I have like zero interest in. And adding Xavier does not interest me. Hopefully, he says he retires this issue, so maybe Lilandra will retire as well, and they'll just check in on their daughter and let her rule the kingdom to share space, but I don't know. Or are they going to kill off Xavier in this event now that he's at 100%? And he's like, oh, yeah, this could be a happy ending, and they're going to take it from him? No Rachel this issue either, so that's disappointing. I'm wondering where to go next. You can read Phoenix 10, Uncanny X-Men 12, Storm 7, X Factor 9, X Force 10, and X-Men 14. And, they moved this all up a little bit. They could have promoted Exceptional X-Men that Tom Brevoort said would have been issue. Right, there will be an issue 10 and probably 12, but not every series is going to get 10 issues or 12 issues, which back in the day, like I remember when 25 issues were like the bare minimum from an ongoing, and now 12. And then there was years where like, you'd be lucky you got the 12. And now like X-Force, X Factor, and NYX are all ending around 10. So I don't know. It's just like we can't even get to 12 anymore. But here we are. From the Ashes is already closing chapters. And it's also irritating that Mr. Sinister, who had such a big, well, it's just like I got tired of Sinister in the Krakoan era, and so having him back so soon is irritating. Then Comic Book Queer's Legacy was talking about how like he was like the big bad at the end of the Fall of X. Like literally he became the Dominion and Phoenix had to like take him down. And it's like, yeah, now he's just collecting DNA. I don't know. It's not ideal. All right, let's see what comics came out last week. Um oh yeah, Doom's Division, which I thought was just a brand new team. Apparently Tiger's Division has had their own miniseries and appearances in other books. And so my knees locking up, so I gotta walk around. And so Doom taking over, and they're the I don't know East Asian team of heroes, and so he's claiming them and calling them Doom Division, adding Wave, Karma, and another Marvel Snap legend. But anyways, Karma joins the team, which I was like, oh man, she's gonna be the final page reveal, but turns out. It's like 3 pages to the end, but I'm like, hey, extra karma. She is wearing her New Mutants like skirt outfit, which I'm like, if Magic can have a solo outfit or a non-New Mutants team outfit, Karma deserves one. We can get that, make that happen. Laura Kenny 4, Wolverine 4 came out and is starting a two-parter crossover with future Thunderbolt. Um, Bucky Barnes, who's now called the Revolution, which someone on Blue Sky had a fun comment about how, like, wondering if we're going away from Winter Soldier and all the Russian backstory now that America and Russia's relationship is what it is now. Um, so it was pretty fun. They took out some jerk white guys at a convenience store who were completely, against mutants. And so it's just cool to see Laura, just kick butt. And then Rogue Savage Land 3, Kazar shows up, and so he no longer, Magneto doesn't feel comfortable walking around shirtless, so he is shirt full, I believe is the opposite of shirtless. And I don't know, it was a fun issue, though there was some big action that, no, I got a little bloody. I was like, oh, this feels like that's not what this series has been about. Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 670, Eight Deaths conclusion, where we get to see Spider-Knot and Magic even calls him Spider-Knot, which must have been a deleted scene where he landed and then told everyone, "Hey, call me Spider-Knot." Because I feel like people wouldn't instinctively think to call him something besides Spider-Man, but they recognize the branding, and I imagine Toy Biz or the Marvel Legends line, it will be making a Juggernaut Build-A-Figure, which they made a Husk and Marrow that if I was into buying, Marvel Legends figures, I'd be tempted to get a Husk and a Marrow. But I mean, I'm questioning buying a $20 Punisher comic, so budget's not what I would love it to be. Oh, then we get to my comic of the week, which I probably should have just made this one, said it earlier. But Ultimate Wolverine 3, which we get the debut of Ultimate Kitty Pryde and Gambit. And they team up with the Black Widow as they're trying to save some refugees. And then Ultimate Wolverine, of course, is on their scent to kill them. And then Kitty recognizes who the threat is, and then wonders how he's in this situation and puts her hand through his skull, and whatever doing so messes up the programming he's under, and we get a bunch of flashes of memories, and it causes, him confusion. He gets very confusicus and like falls off the back of the van and they get away, which after they killed off Mystique and Nightcrawler in the first issue, I've just been very like I was holding my breath the whole time, like, are they gonna make it? And then I had to like some breath out as this Kitty Pryde and Gambit are dating. They are very much kissing, and so it's like, well, I guess that's what we're doing. And Ultimate Rogue is like involved in the Ultimate X-Men line, so and she looks very younger. I mean, this Kitty Pryde looks older, so and because there's that rule about no Kitty Pryde and Magic interaction, like Magic's not even in this issue, so it's like, all right. But we did go into it knowing that Kitty was going to survive, as I think she's in the solicitation for issue 6. So I know I got 4 and 6 ordered, and we'll see about 5, but she's on the variant cover for 6. So I'm like, all right. But if she had died, I was just going to write off this entire event. And now Miles is coming back to this thing, which I hope someone remembers that Jimmy Hudson's from this the old Ultimate Universe too. Someone did mention Bombshells there too, but I read the fandom page for her, and they clearly state that Monaco Man brought Miles' friends over from the Ultimate Universe, but from their perspective, they've always been in this universe, and so she doesn't remember being an all new Ultimate member. So if there's any references to the all new Ultimates, I would very much like to read that issue. But from what I could tell, though, she's purely been just as if she was always around, but at least the character is around. That's nice. And clearly, I'm not reading Miles Morales comics. But I'd be tempted to read this one, especially if Kitty Pryde shows up. Because Magic's just being way too big of a character. Like, I was trying to bid on eBay for Magic's first appearance. And the one that has Magic on the cover is like a very expensive comic, but the Miles Morales like solo cover is like you can get it relatively cheap. I'm like, I think I'm just committed to Ultimate Kitty Pryde. Like I gotta pick my spots. I don't have unlimited funding. And then oh yeah. And then Uncanny X-Men 12, which was a mostly Gambit spotlight issue, but we see the outliers. Jitter got hurt last episode issue when Rogue told Gambit to knock her down. And then at 4:30, she's just up and working together. The outliers got together and helping like encourage her. So that was pretty great. And Rogue comes out to apologize to Jitter. She doesn't want to be that type of leader. I will have to say I was super proud in X-Men Manhunt Omega that Kitty didn't bring any of the exceptional kids. Like they're not training child soldiers. They're just literally just trying to be an after school program or teaching mutants their history and some fighting skills. So I was like, good on you. Like Kitty hasn't done it, or like Rogue's done it, Cyclops has definitely done it. So Kitty, giving an opportunity, has chosen not to. And X-Manhunt Omega barely had any fighting besides the Attack of the Titans. But yeah, so we get a flashback of Gambit, where he's like barely 8 or 9, and poor kid's wearing sunglasses so people don't make fun of his eyes, but he still has bullies, and he's indebted to this one guy who saved him, who's not his father or a unbefore known character. I think he's called the Vig. I don't know. It was like Gambit pages. I'm like, I'm only here for Nightcrawler, which Nightcrawler's new potential romance, that Mother McKinsey, which I forget her last name, but sometimes I forget her first name too. So proud of me for that one. But she's going to the mayor's office and saying we have to do something about these mutants, which I imagine is a fun misdirect, and that the next page, issue 13, is going to literally be like, we got to support these mutants and make them feel safe. And it's like, oh yeah, good on you. Because I really don't want her being like, she made all that baked goods for Kurt. She's clearly not going to all of a sudden be like anti-mutant. It'd be highly disappointing if it's just true. And then that's the Nightcrawler content we get. And then finally, we get Wolverine Revenge 5, which I'll admit I wasn't a big fan of. But and then it opens with Colossus and his son Nikolai, which I was like, who's the mother of this kid? Like, because I really don't want to be in Kitty Pryde. And at first I was like, hey, it's an N name. It must be the Savage Land guy. And that kid is an N name, but it's Nirel. I was pretty proud of myself for at least getting the right initials. And then we find out from Nikolai that Colossus went into isolation and magic raised him, the Nikolai that is. And he's familiar with Limbo. He even got to borrow Magic Sword. And he keeps calling her Aunt Yana, which I'm like, oh, it's so sweet. Like, I love the idea of an alternate future where all, like, Ileana literally just got a kid to raise and clearly did a good job. And so Wolverine pretty much kills Sabretooth pretty easily. And Sabretooth was already on his last legs anyways. No pun intended, because he was in a Xavier 90s hover chair. And then he rips him apart. Nikolai sends magic or Wolverine and himself into limbo and then pretty much escapes right back out of it, leaving Logan in limbo at the issue's end, and he's just gonna take over limbo. Which is like, I guess that Wolverine concept is very popular as they just keep finding different ways to make Logan in hell. But yeah, so amazing. So Magic was in X-Manhunt Omega and Amazing Spider-Man 70. And then Ultimate Kitty was in Ultimate Wolverine 3, as well as regular traditional Kitty was in X-Manhunt. But then Doom's Division was pretty interesting. I might be tempted to read more Tiger Division, but those are pretty much the highlights. And then the Magic references of Wolverine Revenge 5. So a pretty solid week of comics. So let's see what comes out this week. We're having spring break. I'm not sure if everyone else is, so I'm not sure what my reading schedule is going to be like on Wednesday as I gotta catch up on things. Um, but yeah, but we have an episode for sure next weekend. So we have Contest of Champions 1, which is the Dazzler continuation from her miniseries from the beginning of the year. We have Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe one last time, which I can only imagine they're going to make another sequel who says we mean it this time or something. And it's a miniseries. I only care about once Kitty and Magic show up in it. Wolverine 5, which I feel like 4 literally came out. Like it must be double shipping, which I don't think comics need to be doing these days. Except for Wolverine, I could see where they just want to keep pumping those books out. Psylocke 6, which also feels like it just came out 2 weeks ago. Which should be a new arc where I guess the Revenge personality is coming back. Ultimate X-Men 14, which I still, I mean, it's my second favorite Ultimate title, as it's the other title I'm reading from it. But now that I have my Kitty Pryde content and she's never going to show up in X-Men, nor is Magic, I'm just like, it's nice it still exists. I still enjoy it, but of the two titles, I'm Team Ultimate Wolverine. West Coast Avengers 6 with Firestar, which hopefully she's in it, but also featuring Wonder Man. So, you know, hopefully the Firestar pages are multiple. And then X-Men 14 that we know is definitely double shipping. I want to say I'm getting that issue, um, because I can't remember that's the Chris Chirosio handbook cover series, or is that the issue 15 and 16? But yeah, because it's going to be the month of April, and I want to say these are the comics I preview, which I'm excited about because I'm always seeing all these, new comic book day posts on TikTok where I'm like, I want to do that. But my thing is going to be like the month of April books. But still, I mean, I get a hashtag new comic book day on it. As I see some people do, like, hey, I bought these one day and then came went back to the other. Which May 5th is coming up, and that's going to be free comic book day. So we're going to Kelly's Comics, and it's an hour and a half drive there to Great Falls, and then hour and a half back eventually. And so it's just like, is this too far away to be driving there once a week? So I'm hoping to check out some variant covers, maybe put my fingers through the P's for the Punisher book, though I imagine they're going to charge way too much for it. But if it's there, I don't care what cover it is. I'm just going to commit to it. It's my last chance at finding it locally, that is. And oh yeah, so ranking these, I guess it'd be Ultimate X-Men 14, X-Men 14, Psylocke 6, Wolverine 5, Contest of Champions, Deadpool Kills, and West Coast Avengers 6, I guess. Oh, and Contest of Champions should probably be in the top upper rankings of it. But yeah, but none of these seem like they're going to be the spotlight comic. I mean, I guess X-Men 14 potentially can be, but I do got some more 43 issues to review, so probably just make one of those it and do a quick review of everything else, because that makes sense to me. All right, everyone. Well, thanks so much for listening. I don't know if anyone's local here in Helena, but I'm running for school board. Big announcement, everyone. I'm running for school board in case someone Googles me and finds this podcast. And hello, you listeners. Appreciate you making it all the way to this part. But yeah, I'm going to run for Helena School Board. The election's early May, but I imagine the early ballots are going to come out. And I've been having like driving thoughts of like rehearsing pitches and such, and just like, oh yeah, I wouldn't mind getting a ballot with my name on it for like a frame, but I don't know if the elections office will let me have a page, but it's like, well, I can't give up my page because I want that for voting. But I suppose I could do the mail ballot and then physically go in to vote, but I don't know, we'll figure that out. But I wouldn't mind a frame of that. That'd be fun, I think. No win or lose. It'd be like, yeah, my name was up for election. But yeah, but running on a campaign of transparency, securing the Helena High School um gets built or rebuilt. And then yeah, supporting neighborhood schools are my main platforms, and I'm excited about the possibility of it. It went from a manageable three candidates to now like six candidates. So now it's just like, you know, it wasn't a lock like it was earlier in the month. But yeah, I'm excited about the campaign idea, and you can follow me on socials at Jacko SII at most places, and the podcast at SNFWM. I probably post these four Kitty Pride ones as the promotion materials. So yeah, look for us on the line, and thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk at you next time. All right, everyone, bye.